You followed the rules. You were patient, respectful, thoughtful. You gave her space. You didn't push. You made her feel seen. And still she drifted. She stopped replying. She said, "You're great, but something's missing." Sound familiar? It's not because you were too nice. And it's not because you weren't man enough. It's because no one ever told you the truth. Attraction doesn't follow logic. It follows emotion. While most men are stuck chasing surface-level advice, the ones who get it, they understand how women feel, not just how they think. That's what this video's about. I'm going to walk you through 10 psychological weak points, not to manipulate her, but to finally understand what actually moves her. Master these, and you'll stop wondering why things don't work out. You'll start attracting, not chasing. Let's begin. Let's get one thing straight. Women today aren't lacking male attention. They're surrounded by it. Every day, every hour. Compliments in their DMs, likes on every photo, endless options on dating apps. But despite all of that, most women feel emotionally starved. Why? Because attention is cheap, but consistency is rare. Most men are good at starting strong. The early good morning texts, the excitement, the flirty charm. But very few know how to sustain that energy past the honeymoon stage. When life gets busy, when emotions get complicated, when uncertainty shows up, that's when the cracks appear. Flaky behavior, mixed signals, big promises with small follow-through. And here's the twist: most women aren't surprised anymore. They expect men to vanish, not because they're cynical, but because they've been through it over and over again. So when a woman meets a man who simply does what he says he'll do without drama, without excuses, it shocks her nervous system. Not in a flashy way, not in a "he swept me off my feet" kind of way, but in a slow-burning, deeply stabilizing kind of way. A woman might not even know how to explain it at first, but she feels safer. Safer to trust, safer to open up, safer to relax into the connection. Think about it. In a world where most people can't even commit to dinner plans without confirming day of, the man who shows up on time without a reminder feels like a breath of fresh air. And this isn't about being a doormat or saying yes to everything. It's about integrity. It's about being so grounded in your own word that when you say "I'll call you at 8," your phone is ringing at 7:59. I'll give you a real story. One of my clients, let's call him David, wasn't the most naturally charismatic guy. No six-pack, no perfect Instagram feed. But what he did have was a steady backbone. He followed through on every commitment, even the small ones. And guess what? The woman he dated told him, "It wasn't your looks that got me. It was the fact that I could finally breathe around someone." That's what most men miss. Women aren't only attracted to thrill and unpredictability. They crave the absence of anxiety. They crave the kind of connection where they don't have to read between the lines of a text message, where they don't have to wonder if your silence means you're pulling away. So here's what to take away. If you say you're going to text her, do it. If you promise to see her Saturday, don't cancel unless you're bleeding. If you're not sure you can commit to something, don't say it. This isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. In an era of endless options, inconsistency, and superficial connection, a steadfast man becomes not just desirable, he becomes unforgettable. So don't underestimate it. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be 6 feet tall. You don't need to reinvent yourself. You just need to show her something she rarely sees: a man who means what he says and backs it up with action. And that is rarer than you think. If reliability builds trust, confidence builds gravity. But here's the problem. Most men think confidence means being loud, bold, dominant. The guy who walks in like he owns the room. The one cracking jokes, flexing status, commanding attention. And sure, that can look like confidence, but that's not what truly draws women in. Real confidence isn't loud, it's still. It's composed, it's not trying to prove anything because it doesn't need to. Think of it like this. A lion doesn't need to roar all day to be respected, it just is. Now let's talk about where men go wrong. Too many guys build their identity around things that can be taken away. Their job title, their car, their gym body. But what happens when the business fails? When the money dries up? When age kicks in and your abs vanish? If your confidence is tied to what you have instead of who you are, it's fragile. And fragile confidence makes women uneasy because they can feel the instability beneath the surface. What women are drawn to isn't perfection, it's internal certainty. A man who knows what he stands for, who doesn't flinch under pressure, who doesn't need her validation to feel complete. I'll give you a story. I once worked with a man named Amir. Soft-spoken, private, dressed modestly. But when he talked, people leaned in. Why? Because he didn't chase attention. He didn't try to impress. He knew his value quietly, calmly. And the women he dated, they said the same thing. He made me feel like I was around someone who didn't need me, but still chose me. That's real power. Here's a mindset shift you need. Confidence isn't, look at me, it's I'm good whether you look or not. So how do you build it? Not through hype, not through external flex. You build it in private, when you keep promises to yourself. When you finish things you said you'd do. When you learn to sit in discomfort instead of running from it. That's what creates the kind of gravity women feel but can't explain. And when you combine that with the consistency we talked about earlier, you're no longer just attractive. You're rare, and the rare man he never needs to chase. If confidence is about knowing your worth, ambition is about where you're going with it. And let's be clear, ambition doesn't mean chasing status or showing off. It means you have a direction, a mission, a vision for your life that isn't built around her or anyone else. That's what most guys miss. They confuse ambition with obsession over money, power, or attention. But what truly captivates a woman isn't the glory of where you're going. It's the clarity that you're going somewhere. That forward motion, it signals growth, and people, especially women, are drawn to movement. See, women are deeply emotional, but they're also intuitive. They can sense when a man is stuck, when he's playing it safe, settling. And here's the thing, they may not even judge you for it, but they won't feel inspired by it. And that matters more than you think. I once coached a guy named Ray. Good-looking, charismatic, had a stable job, but he felt invisible. His dates would go well, until the second or third one. Then things fizzled. When I asked what he was working toward in life, he paused. Honestly, I don't know, I'm just trying to stay afloat. Now don't get me wrong, there's no shame in survival mode. But the energy that comes from coasting through life, it's very different than the energy of a man on a mission. We worked on something simple. He set one meaningful goal, launching a small side project around his passion for photography. Within a month, his energy shifted. He was excited, focused, forward-facing. And guess what? The next woman he dated told him, I don't know why, but you feel different. Like there's momentum around you. That's it right there. You don't have to build an empire. You don't need a TED Talk or a six-figure brand. You just need movement. Women want to join something, not be your purpose, but be inspired by it. So here's the takeaway. Pick a direction. Choose something to build, improve, or create, even if it's small. Make your life bigger than the relationship you're hoping for. Because a woman doesn't fall for a man who's figured it all out. She falls for the man who's in motion and isn't looking for her to complete the story. He already has one. You've heard it before. Why do women always go for bad boys? The guy who doesn't text back, who keeps her guessing, who's unpredictable, unavailable, and emotionally detached. And you might think, what's wrong with women? Why would they choose that over a good guy? But here's the truth no one tells you. It's not because he's cruel. It's because he's emotionally independent. Women don't fall for jerks. They fall for mystery, for strength, for a man who doesn't need them to feel whole. And the bad boy, for all his flaws, masters that energy. He doesn't chase. He doesn't over-explain. He's selective with his attention. And that creates tension. Tension is emotional gravity. It keeps her leaning in, wondering, investing. Now let me be clear. You don't need to become cold, arrogant, or manipulative. You just need to stop performing for approval. You need to learn to sit with silence, to hold your ground, to say no without guilt. Women test for this constantly. Ever had a woman act distant out of nowhere or suddenly ask, why didn't you text me all day? That's not her being insecure. That's her subconsciously checking, does this man orbit around me or does he have a life beyond me? If your energy says I'm good whether you stay or not, she feels that. And paradoxically, she's more drawn to you. Why? Because it signals strength. Not strength in dominance, but strength in identity. The bad boy archetype only works because it suggests he can't be easily moved. So here's the new blueprint. Maintain space, don't be afraid to be unavailable. Keep your focus on your mission, not the emotional roller coaster of the moment. Respond, don't react. Women aren't looking for chaos. They're looking for stability that doesn't depend on them. The bad boy simulates that by accident, but you can do it with intention. And when you do, you'll keep your heart open while keeping your power intact. Let's talk about attention. Most men give it away like it costs nothing. Constant texting, endless compliments, double tapping every selfie. You're trying to show her interest, respect, desire. But here's the twist. When something is always available, it loses value. Women live in a world where they're flooded with attention. It's everywhere. Notifications, likes, comments, messages. They're not starving for validation, they're drowning in it. But because it's so easy to get, it means almost nothing. So the guy who pulls back just a little, who gives attention selectively, who makes her earn it, suddenly becomes a challenge, a puzzle, a signal of value. Think about economics. Scarcity increases demand. That principle doesn't stop at diamonds or real estate. It applies to human behavior too. When you're always texting first, always complimenting her, always reacting, she might enjoy it for a while. But over time, she stops noticing. Because your energy becomes predictable. And predictable energy in abundance becomes background noise. I'm not saying ignore her. I'm saying create contrast. Give her moments of full undivided attention, then disappear into your purpose. Make her feel your absence. Make your attention something she notices when it's gone. Here's what that looks like in real life. Stop texting all day. Keep it short and intentional. Don't react to every story she posts. Let silence do the work. Compliment her, but only when it's felt, not when it's expected. Because here's the hard truth. If you give a woman attention before she's emotionally invested, she doesn't value it. But if you create space and let her step toward you, that same attention becomes 10x more powerful. Why? Because now she's earned it. And what we earn, we respect. So stop giving women what they're already drowning in. Start giving them what's actually rare. Presence with boundaries. Interest with standards. Energy that costs something. Masculinity has taken a beating in modern culture. You've heard the labels toxic, overbearing, outdated. But let's separate truth from noise. Women aren't repelled by masculinity. They're repelled by insecurity masquerading as masculinity. The guy who yells to feel powerful. The guy who needs to dominate every conversation. The guy who falls apart the moment things don't go his way. That's not masculinity. That's fragility in a costume. Real masculinity isn't loud, it doesn't beg, it doesn't threaten, it doesn't overcompensate. It holds. It holds tension, it holds space, it holds firm when everything else starts to crack. Masculinity is the calm in chaos, the rock in the storm, the man who can stay grounded when she's overwhelmed by emotion, not by dismissing her, but by not becoming her. Emotional self-control is one of the rarest forms of strength, and it's magnetic. I've watched women walk away from millionaires who panicked under pressure and fall for the man who barely spoke but stood firm when it mattered. That's the kind of strength women want to lean into, not because they're weak, but because the feminine flows best when the masculine holds its structure. So what does that look like? It means not raising your voice when she's emotional. It means holding eye contact without flinching. It means saying no when you need to without fear of her reaction. It means having a direction and not veering off course when someone questions it. That's the energy that says, I can lead, I can protect, I can stand alone if I have to. And when a woman senses that in you, she doesn't want to fight it. She wants to relax into it. Because in a world of uncertainty, the man who stands firm becomes a place she wants to come home to. There's a silent test women run, and most men don't even know they're failing it. It's not about looks, not about charm. It's about social proof. You see, women aren't just evaluating you. They're unconsciously reading what other women think of you. That's pre-selection. The psychological instinct that says if other high-value women want him, there must be something there. And it's not shallow, it's primal. From an evolutionary lens, women have always needed to choose wisely. Their survival and their children's once depended on it. So they developed filters. And one of the strongest, if other women are drawn to this man, he must have value I can't fully see yet. It's not that they're trying to compete. It's that curiosity is triggered by demand. And that creates an edge. Think about it. You walk into a room alone, no eye contact, no ease. Now imagine walking in flanked by two confident, attractive women laughing at your joke. The energy is completely different. But here's the key. It doesn't have to be romantic. Even being seen with female friends who respect and enjoy you can shift how you're perceived. I knew a guy who struggled on dates for years. He started volunteering at a local event group, mostly women-led. As he built friendships, his confidence grew, his social skills sharpened, and suddenly women started asking him out. Nothing changed in his looks, just his perceived status, because women saw how he moved comfortably around other women. So here's how you leverage pre-selection with integrity. Spend time in female-led environments without trying to impress. Build platonic friendships that challenge and support you. Let women see you already live in connection, not in scarcity. Because when a woman senses that you're wanted, she instinctively wants to understand why. And that curiosity, that's often where attraction begins. If masculinity makes her feel safe, leadership makes her feel led. Not controlled, not dominated, guided. See, women are biologically wired to respond to leadership not because they're weak, but because they're emotional. And emotion by nature responds to direction. A man who takes initiative, who creates plans, who moves with clarity, gives her something to lean into. And that's powerful. Leadership isn't about barking orders or being in charge. It's about signaling that you know where you're going, and she doesn't need to carry the emotional burden of steering both of your lives. That's why indecision is so unattractive. The what do you want to do text, the up to you attitude, the passive energy that says I'm just following your lead hoping you'll like me. That doesn't feel like safety, that feels like weight. Real leadership says I've thought this through, I've got a plan, let's go. That doesn't mean she has no say. It means you're not waiting around for permission to act like a man. I once spoke with a woman who broke off an engagement, her reason. He wanted me to make every decision. At first it felt empowering, but after a year I felt like I was dating a child. That story is more common than you think. Women want a partner, yes, but they also want a leader. Someone with emotional range, but also emotional command. Someone who listens to her feelings, but doesn't drown in them. Leadership in dating isn't about dominance, it's about initiative. Want to know one of the easiest ways to stand out? Plan the date. Choose the place. Set the time. Confirm with certainty. You'd be amazed how rare that is. It's not about taking control of her, it's about taking control of yourself. And when she feels that kind of grounded direction from you, she stops overthinking. She can finally just feel. And that space, that's where attraction blooms. Because the woman who feels safe to relax feels safe to desire. Here's a secret most men never learn. Women don't want you to fix their emotions. They want you to hold them. Not physically, emotionally. That means being able to sit in the storm without running or shutting down. Most men are emotionally reactive. She cries, he panics. She vents, he interrupts with solutions. She pulls away, he chases. But here's the truth. Most emotional reactions from women aren't about problems, they're about processing. And when a man jumps in with logic, he breaks the emotional rhythm. That's why she might say you don't get it, or I just needed you to listen. Emotional intelligence is about knowing when to speak, when to stay silent, when to ask questions, and when to just breathe beside her without fixing anything. Think of it like this. When a woman is upset, it's like a wave building in her body. Your job is not to block it, it's to anchor yourself while it crashes and passes. A man who can do that, he becomes unforgettable. Because women are used to being either invalidated or overwhelmed. But when you meet her with calm presence, without judgment, without urgency, you become a safe container. And that safety turns into trust. And trust, that's what makes a woman open, loyal, and emotionally bonded. I remember coaching a man who was dating a woman with high emotional intensity. Every man before him either tried to fix her or walked away. I told him, don't solve, witness. The next time she broke down, he sat beside her and said, you don't have to be okay right now. I'm not going anywhere. She broke into tears, not from pain, but from relief. That moment changed everything. Because in a world that rushes to silence, emotion's presence becomes healing. So stop trying to be her solution. Start being her witness. That's where emotional connection is born. And that's a kind of intimacy even physical attraction can't replace. If you've made it this far, you've noticed a pattern. The most attractive men aren't trying to impress women. They're busy building something that already makes them feel alive. That's what passion is, not fireworks, not hype, not hustle culture. It's purpose with energy. And here's the truth. Nothing captivates a woman more than a man in motion towards something he loves that has nothing to do with her. It's the energy in your eyes when you talk about your craft. The calm intensity you carry when you're creating something that matters. That could be music, building a business, designing code, writing a book, training your body. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it lights you up from the inside. And women, they feel that, not because they want to take it from you, but because they want to orbit around it. Here's where most guys go wrong. They pretend to be passionate to impress her. They start projects hoping she'll notice. But passion born from performance isn't real, and women can spot that instantly. Real passion doesn't look like, look at me. It looks like I'm going anyway, whether you come or not. That's what inspires her to follow. Because if you're lit up without her, she'll want to know what it feels like to be close to that fire. I once knew a man who restored vintage motorcycles. He wasn't rich, he wasn't loud, but when he talked about his workshop, he came alive. And every woman he dated said the same thing. I just wanted to be near him when he talked about what he loved. That's not seduction, that's soul. So here's your final challenge. Find what moves you. Build your life around it. Let your passion shape your energy. Because the man with direction is attractive, but the man with devotion, he's magnetic. Most men think attraction is about saying the right words, or having the right job, or finally looking the part. But women don't remember the man who performed for their approval. They remember the man who stood still in the storm, the one who didn't chase but attracted, the one who led with calm, the one who didn't fold when things got hard. And that kind of man, he's not found on a dating app. He's not loud in the room. He's rare, and rare isn't about being perfect, it's about being real with discipline. So if you've been chasing, proving, performing, stop. Start building, start becoming. Let your values lead, let your passion speak louder than your words, and let women feel the gravity of who you are without trying to sell it. Because at the end of the day, confidence fades, looks fade, charm wears off, but character compounds. And the man who walks with strength, purpose, and self-respect, he doesn't need to compete. He becomes the standard.